my city.
60 Northwest.
We got that
L-A-C-E-Y.
so pretty. Loving it when you rain on me. There ain't nothing like my city.
Welcome to another episode of Loving Lacey, the podcast show for the 360. I'm Lacey from Lacey.
It's your boy B, aka Be Active.
Cal from Cal. Yes, sir. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. I'm Joshua Smith.
Oh,
Joshua
snap.
Smith.
Mr. Smith.
We have a special guest, Mr. Smith.
Hey.
And we are doing this episode for the community. This is a change-making brother over here.
Okay.
Excited to have you, man. Excited to have you,
I'm
brother.
excited to be here. Actually, I've been a part of your journey, watching you from afar. You know what I'm saying? I got to hear some really great stories about your progress while you were still doing your re-entry, and to see you touch down and make magic. You know what I'm saying? Has been amazing for me to watch. You know what I mean?
Hell yeah. Appreciate it.
A lot of people are like, "Yo, Josh, you doing dope shit," but then I sit back and I'm like, just watch, and I'm talking about you. So
Yeah. Hell yeah. Calvin too, man. Like all of us have that, what they call lived experience.
Right.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like we all have turned our lives like a complete 180. So it's like
For real.
it just feels good to be on the different side of things, man, and knowing that, like what they say on that show, Riddick, you keep what you kill.
Right.
But it's like now we killing it and we
Right.
get to keep it. Like nobody's gonna come knocking on the door and be like, that's mine, you're going to jail.
Right.
You know what I mean? So everything we earn, everything we put out, everything we talk about is legit. You know what I'm saying? Life is transparent. It's authentic. It's good.
It feels good to be accountable. You know what I mean? To for others to know that if I say I'm going to be somewhere at my job or here, or if I say something that it's going to happen. And there's something about that, man. There's something about keeping your word and being accountable, being responsible, keeping groceries in the house, It wasn't always like this.
Go to the self-checkout and they're looking at you because they be looking at everyone like they're thieves out. And you're like, no, this is all me.
Right.
You can look at me all you want. I'm going to walk past you with my receipt and not show it to you because I know I'm
Because I know I'm good.
You feel me?
I think my thing is I feel kind of like I've plateaued this year. So last year I accomplished a lot in a really short amount of time, and it was like above and beyond expectations and everything. And now I feel like, what is my next step? What is my next level up?
I think a lot of times that is the next step. Like, how do I just contemplate and plan?
And because I definitely needed like the time to like rejuvenate and like refresh for sure, because it was just a lot in such a short period of time. It was new, so I definitely needed like the time to refresh. But now I feel like I've had that, and so I'm like, what's next? What's my next big goal gonna be?
What is next? Do you have an idea?
I'm not sure.
I mean, I think that's $1 million question, man.
Right.
Like I just made a post the other day where it says, step 1, want it. Step 2, pursue it. Step 3, up.
Right.
Step up. But before you get to step 1, you have to think about what it is you want. Because if you can't identify what you want, then you can't pursue it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And you have to know what your next step is going to be. And I think that's kind of what my wife is saying. Like, okay, I did all these things. I had all these goals, crushed them.
Yeah.
Some of these goals was 3-year, 2-year, 5-year goals. And she crushed them all in like 6 to 8 months. And now it's like,
Now what?
Sheesh.
And now what? You know what I mean? And I'm not there quite yet because I have goals, and I believe one of the advantages of doing time is being able to see things way out.
Right.
And plan for that. So like I can set up something and be totally cool with knowing in 18 months this is gonna happen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If I plant this seed right now, I know this tree is gonna be this big in 2.5 years.
Yeah.
And so like me having that, I have to sometimes rein it in that other people don't have that ability to see things like that. You know what I'm saying? Not everybody. I come across people that are able to do it.
Right.
but it's a powerful tool to be able to prepare for something, have the patience, and know that every step you're taking is towards the bigger picture, a bigger goal. You know, like Stephen R. Covey wrote, you know, the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, right? Begin with the end in mind.
Yeah.
You know, that's one of the steps.
You know, one thing I feel like there's so much talent within our carceral system, right? And when we're in those walls, in those spaces, we actually have to utilize those muscles and build those muscles about thinking ahead, planning ahead, strategizing that shit, right? So when we're actually here, home, those strategizing muscles are firing off. Those planning muscles are firing off, right? So we've got this skill once we hit the streets that other people haven't been able to develop it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So you can see
Because
someone...
you get content. People get content. Like, that's how I feel
They get used
to an extent. I'm like content. So I get what you're saying. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not using what I could be and what I have full to potential.
For sure. And I think I haven't had the 8 years behind bars to develop that muscle. You know what I mean?
So it's
when
like you're
somebody
doing
does,
great and you're doing, but you feel like you could.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
We should always feel like we could be doing more, no matter where you are in life,
I know.
or you're stagnant. You know,
Well,
what I
that's the
mean?
conundrum with the word potential. You can never
Right.
reach your potential.
And you know what?
It's a trick.
The worst
like the
compliment
rainbow.
one can receive is, in my opinion, he or she has potential. Because what are you really saying? Are you saying that I haven't?
What you're
reached
telling
my
somebody
potential?
is you're not
You know
good
what I
enough
mean?
today, but you will be tomorrow. And
Eventually.
tomorrow never comes.
You'll be alright.
But it's kind of a slight in the same sense. You see what I'm saying? It's
You
kind
almost
of
good enough.
Exactly. I feel like that's one of the worst confidence or compliments, even though it's coming from a good place. And I've said it before myself, Josh, believe me.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's kind of a slight.
I think
You
he has the most
don't
potential.
look back there right now, but you got self-centered potential.
Yeah.
Well,
And to be honest,
okay.
I feel like that could be positive reinforcement
Yeah.
when we're working with people who are in that space where you're like, man, I see something in you, dog.
Yeah.
And you have so much potential. How can we pull that out?
Yeah, but it just goes to show, like with the human language, and baby getting on me about this
Perspective and
is
perception.
I'm super literate,
Yes.
like literal about things. You know what I'm
Any
saying?
word.
And so
He'll let it.
when you tell somebody like you have potential,
If you say never, he's like, never. Never. I never. And I'm like,
But what she doesn't realize is I've read books like
Right.
Marshall B. Rosenberg's Nonviolent Communication, where saying things like absolutes is a negative form of communication.
Yes.
It
You
is.
don't say you never do that.
Or you always.
You get it, or oh, that's an absolute.
Yes.
You know
You
what I'm
know
saying?
what?
And that's actually in RDAP, it's a thinking error.
You know what? Me and Tiff did a couples counseling a couple years ago.
There we go.
And they told us not to speak in those terms. When I'm speaking of Tiff or Tiff's speaking of me, they coach us to say, never speak in those terms because it's not true. Tiff doesn't always do these things, even though I might have said that. And, you know, I don't always do this thing that annoys her, even though, but when she says it about me, especially in front of someone else, I may internalize it in a certain type of way. You see what I'm saying? But it's not that I meant to offend her, or she meant to offend me in that way, but it got me thinking about
But
that.
you inherently know it's not true.
Right.
When somebody says something to you that's not true in a judgmental or derogatory
Right,
way,
right,
you get what? You're attacked, you get defensive.
right.
When you're
Exactly.
attacked and you get defenses, you resort to your commonplace.
Defense mechanisms.
Whatever your mechanism is, whatever your coping mechanism is for being attacked, that's what you resort to
Right.
in the heat of the moment. If you don't
Resentment
have,
form.
yeah. And so when you're attacked, you attack back.
Right,
And instead of saying, well, that's not true.
right.
You know what I'm saying? And trying to redirect the conversation with what they call nonviolent communication. Because when you attack somebody about something that they do that you dislike, it's an attack.
For sure.
Right.
For sure.
And so that's why that book is called Nonviolent Communication. Because they say, well, turn it over and be like, well, you know, actually, can you actually count how many times? Like, okay, so yeah, yesterday at this time, or whatever, you know, and I'm sure it came up.
And
in
you
the
should
couples
point
counseling.
out those instances instead
Yeah.
of using the words always
For sure.
and
For sure.
every time and shit like that. Right.
Yeah.
But I haven't. I'll admit
it's
that I have a
also-
bad habit of doing that
Right.
too. I always say she always
Yeah.
does
It's a
this.
habit. It's society. So
It's
even if
common
you
speech.
practice and you have the muscles and you're good at it, you're still hearing it 24/7. You hear it when you watch TV. You hear it from your kids saying it about each other. You hear it said to you. You hear it at your job. These things are still, you're still absorbing these bad habits through osmosis of living in your society.
Right.
No matter how, so you're always in an uphill battle of practicing good habits because there's constantly, these bad habits being absorbed by you, by your
Right.
conscious, your subconscious. You're always hearing these bad habits, and then you get with a good therapist or read a good book, and you realize the whole way you're fucking communicating and living and brought up in
It's
society
fucked up.
is wrong.
Right.
It's harmful. It's hurting people's feelings. It's fucked up.
The way I battle that, man, is that circle, right? Who do I have in my circle?
Mm-hmm.
Who has been educated to the point where they know saying never and always is conflicting to our beliefs, right? And that's what I try to do. I try to keep people in my circle. And I think that's why me and my spouse are so good, is because she's been on this journey with me too, right? So when we're talking about trauma-informed care, right, she's right there and she understands it. When we're talking about behavioral health, mental health challenges, substance use challenges, right, and things of that nature, like I feel like having someone right there with me that can be like, yeah, and don't forget this.
Right.
Yeah.
That's good. That's done. Sure.
That's a blessing. Having a partner and a team member in especially your closest inner circle.
Yes.
Where you live, where you think about an idea and someone's like, that is a good idea, and like you said, but don't forget, what about this? Twist to it.
Yeah.
That's breaking the cycle, because now you pass that down to your kids. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna see that communication. They're gonna learn these new, better habits in it, and hopefully it just keeps going.
And then kiddos aren't saying, you always
Right.
anymore, right? They're like,
It's so
sometimes.
easy to say always. It's so easy to say never.
The other
It's
day
so
when,
easy, yeah.
remember when, and our daughter Aries is big on that. Remember when you said,
You promised.
You said, she was born
You
out.
said we were going to. Yeah.
She remembers being born, I swear to God. She be doing too much. She be doing a lot.
Yeah.
It was cold, and then this guy slapped me on my
I want to give a shout out to the Strophy Foundation for putting on the Family Reunification Day at the Children's Museum. I myself attended. Me and my kids were reunited fully a year ago on August 8th.
Come on, let's get that right there.
And so that was really great. The best part about it was they rented the museum for just the event, and so the kids had the whole museum to themselves. It was amazing. They did giveaways. It was just a nice little relaxed structure. They had food, they had cake, they had ice cream, they had a dancer, they had little booths set up. What would you call them? Not event booths, but like sponsorship booths.
Little vendors and
Yeah,
stuff.
like
vendors.
But it was just a cool little 3-hour reminder. And something crazy about it is when I was sentenced to prison, my drug court judge at the time was, what is her name? The drug court judge, do you know?
Well, you can tell the story without
I
even
can't.
saying her name.
Okay, but
It was the same judge that ended up.
yeah, so 2.5 years later when I released, she is now transferred from drug court to family court. And so happened to be my judge. So I was deathly terrified because she did not support me in drug court at all. And she, matter of fact, yelled at me upon my
She probably
sentencing.
saw through your bullshit too.
And so, Schaller is her name. So, anyways, when I got out, I was thinking, I was like fearful because I'm like, she just, there's no chance. This is like not going to go on my behalf. Should I
And
put
one
it
thing
for a new judge?
I remember when you told me that, and I told you too then, when I was inside, I was like, there's two ways to look at it. You can either be fearful because she was this way, or this is the person you convinced.
Yeah.
Because this is the person that yelled at you and had, all this, stuff to say about you when they were giving you a prison sentence, and now you're doing the right thing. If this person goes to bat for you, it's a snowball effect of positivity.
Yeah, so from the main thing she said that she remembered about me was how hard I was going for my kids and how I always was talking about them and putting them first in drug court. And then or how bad I wanted to put that first. And so anyway, so she ended up being the same judge that reunified us. And within unreasonable amount of time, it was like super fast. It was not like most cases take years to reunify or to go through what they go through to get reunified. Anyway, so I got to see her in person. And it was like, as soon as we looked across the room and saw each other, we just started walking towards each other. So she made me all emotional and stuff. But it was just crazy because it was like I hated her so much when I got sentenced. But then, you know, I had so much gratitude seeing her now. Anyway, so that was the shout out I wanted to give out. And then I wanted to ask you, Josh, so what is it in your job that you're doing for the youth community, right? And what's going on with your goals and your ideas of flourishing
Okay.
further? Because I remember
And
at
for the
one
naive, what do you do?
yes,
Yeah.
because I remember at one point you had a whole little plan out of things going on. I just want to know what's going on.
That's a great question. So, first of all, I wear many hats, right? I work for juvenile rehabilitation as the peer support program specialist. Who knows about peer support, right? Come on. Coming into the system with lived experience on how to navigate systems, about quality of stay, about length of stay, all of the things that really focus on harm within the system. That's kind of where I'm plugged in the work that I do for the state. And it's had huge impacts, right? Just from quality of stay, length of stay, policies, things like that. And I would say that to work for the state is innovative, it's new, and it's something that they haven't seen in forever, right? So I've gotten some really good feedback in the work that we've done. And I would say that the work that I do it just makes sense, right? I'm not doing anything innovative to me, right? I'm doing what worked for me. I'm doing what made sense for me when I was coming up. And that's like having a relatable resource, right? Having someone who shares experiences as the same experiences I do and telling me like where I'm fucking up at, right? And how to better myself and how to listen better, right? And there was only a few people in my life that gave me that, but they stuck out to me, right? So being that person, so other individuals can see it, so they can be it in turn, right? That's the cycle that we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the lack of good mentors creates a lack of good mentors, right? So the more we can go out and do dope shit, we create more dope people doing dope shit.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's what I do with the state. I've got my own nonprofit called Our House Resource Group, and we really focus on whatever we can to bridge the gaps. And that could be from food distribution, that could be from culturally responsive information dissemination. And people are like, dog, what is that? And really that's like just turning what might be on this white paper to a one-pager with some art on it, or maybe a video. So it's strategically delivered to the people who we need to take it in, right? So we all knew Nipsey Hussle died within 2 minutes, but we have no idea about the grants that are available to us right now, right? For doing the work just like this. So if the information was disseminated in a way that we could get, like through TikToks, like through Instagrams, where we could be like, oh wait, there's the grant that just came out? Oh,
Right.
cool.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what we
Are
need.
you creating those TikToks?
I'm not creating those TikToks. What I'm doing is I'm creating a pathway for people to say, yo, strategic engagement is the way, right? And culturally responsive information dissemination, like the Nipsey Hussle video, right? That's what works, you know? And if it means these kids aren't interested in automotive, but when I pull up with the lowrider, things switch. Like, yo, can I hit a switch? And I'm like, yeah, come hit a switch. And I'll teach you the science behind it. Check it out. So that's how you get that engagement, and that's how you get those sparks. Like, man, I think I like automotive now, you know. So that's a little bit about what I do with Our House Resource Group. I'm also the executive director of Jones Community Solutions, and that's new. So
Hey!
and Jones Community Solutions, they provide technical training, they provide certified peer counseling training. I'm a state trainer, and I think that what we're doing with Jones Community Solutions is what my mission is and my passion, and that's culturally responsive trainings, culturally responsive information dissemination. How can we go into Walla Walla State Prison and deliver certified peer counseling training? But within that training, we're talking about Tina at the park and her experience going down the slide, and none of our audience have that experience. So being able to pivot that in a way where we're like, so Jimmy and John are on the yard, right? And this is their engagement. What do? That's how you really pivot it to where it makes sense.
And that's one thing about me where I come in, is having that experience, and I keep getting that feedback.
Yes.
And especially when she gave a shout out to the Strophy Foundation. So I'm the newest board member of the Strophy Foundation. You feel me? And well, one thing that all the members had said to me is they really look forward to my voice, because my wife's reunification was my reunification.
Yeah.
And we went through the same experiences, and we had two different experiences with the same reunification.
Wow.
Because on one hand, I know my rights, I knew what to expect, and I knew what they could and couldn't do on paper. And my wife didn't. So there were things that were happening that it's almost like they were creating separation by telling her one thing, and I'm like, no, that's not right. That can't happen. But when you're in it, like she was, and I'm in prison saying, no, that's not true. The feeling of actually living it, and like, it's more overwhelming for her to believe what they're saying than me knowing the rights and trying to say that through a phone call. You know what I'm saying? And so now I feel like it's full circle. I'm in the same foundation of the people that reunified my family.
That's powerful.
And so now I can come in and say, hey, this won't work in the future.
Yep.
This can't work. This is unethical. You know what I'm saying? And I experience these things. And so I don't want any other families to ever experience those unethical interactions with social workers or lack of knowledge. There needs to be more training. There needs to be more informed social work.
It's tricky.
And it shouldn't be tricky.
You have to think, if you're going into a situation, you have to, because I personally know a lot of families that should not have had access to their children at so many certain levels, but they just kept giving them back, or the access, or closing their things. And then I know people such as myself where I feel like it should have never even gone to where it went to, right? And I think definitely there needs to be more training, and I get that some people are not easy to read, and so they might be deceptive or deceiving, and they can deceive you. It's one of those really fine line things you just don't know, and they can really get in a lot of trouble, if they don't. So I think they just go super hard on everybody, hoping for the best outcome. But there definitely was a lot of controversy with what I went through, and
a lot of it,
and favoritism, or where I just felt not heard. I'm like, I just want to be seen and heard. Like, listen to me.
Check out this. Speaking of being not heard, for one of the issues that I had with our whole process, it was over a course of a few years. The issue that stood out the most to me was we had like 7 different social workers, and each new social worker wasn't getting the information. So it's like I was doing emails
where they were getting it from the person that currently had the kids, so then it becomes opinionated.
But it's like, where are your notes?
Yeah.
If you come to where I work and I talk to someone, and my coworker talked to someone, and this person talked to someone, and then someone new gets hired in my spot, the way our system is, they're going to know everything that happened up to that point.
There'll be a soft hand.
Why am I saying the same thing 7 times over, and then they're doing their court reports with none of that information? So for 3 years almost, they're saying I didn't do anything when I have over 700 hours of certificates that I was accumulating throughout this whole process. And then they're saying, oh, you have to do services because now you're coming home. Oh, when are you coming home? I've been telling you guys that for a year. There's just things like that. And then them not knowing what they're saying to me to be true or not. Like, if you're going to talk to me about a law, know the law.
Yes.
Don't tell me I can't do this or I can't do that or my wife has to do this. So one of the biggest issues I had is they tried to say, and it wasn't the courts, it was the social workers being misinformed, telling her, oh, there needs to be a parent plan in place in order to close your case. But we're married. And we've been married the whole time. And I've been telling you this, and I had to print out 1.5 years worth of emails back and forth with different social workers explaining this. And then, right before the case closed, they say, oh, there's been a development. Apparently, you guys are married.
I think another huge
So it's just
failure.
like this disconnect of what COVID and all these different things, and they're being overwhelmed and understaffed.
Overworked, underpaid, understaffed, and this is the thing.
Undertrained.
You have to.
A well-trained person can handle an overwhelming workload.
Right, and I was just gonna say that it's almost like a healthcare worker, right? We need people that are compassionate about what they do. They're not just doing it. It's not just another case and a piece of paper and another, oh my God, we have to go to court today and I have to say this and I have to do this. Like that they actually care and are into what they're doing, and you know what could motivate that? Money. Okay? Everyone, the pay system and how, even when you go to McDonald's, you sometimes get the people that are just like, super pissy and super moody, and it's like, why? Like, I'm not making you work here, bro. This is your job, and if you don't want to work here and you're so miserable about it, then fucking go do something else, you know?
But look at this. Before there's a family, there's individuals.
Yep.
You are in the field of dealing with human beings and human relations. When you take a family through 7 social workers, where's the time to build that relationship so that they can feel passionate about who they're dealing with? If you pass me off through 7 different families over a course of 7 months, the time that it takes for me to get to know these people and their intricacies and their struggles and their achievements.
Or
how can I establish a genuine relationship and then sell that to a judge?
For sure.
You know, in my report.
You want to.
How do you build a rapport?
Connection. You want to build trust.
Or what's the process for people like fostering kids? Because I've heard so many horrific stories of foster parents, right? And torturous things and sick things. And I'm like, what is their actual process for that, you know? And again, it can be deceiving because people can be deceiving clearly. So it's like one of those things, like what further can they do? Just because someone doesn't have a background doesn't mean they're not a pedophile.
Yes.
I'm
Just means they've never gotten caught, you know? And so it's unfortunate that they are putting the kids through these traumas that are more traumatizing than staying in their own family in the first place. And so I just think, I don't know, it really needs a lot of help.
Our system is definitely
interesting
and has room for improvements, to say the least.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But that's where we come in, right?
It is.
That's
The
where we
voices,
understand,
right?
Yo, these past 7 months were shitty because we got handed off. And then when we were handed off, there was no relationship. There was no, when I came in front of the next person, the attitude was different. The perception was different. Maybe they didn't read my notes, right? I didn't get to go through the advocating. Now you get it. All right, you get it. Let's move forward. Boom. And now I got a new person. So.
I remember saying so many times too, no one is advocating for me. I am advocating for me. Like,
you were actually advocating for your whole fucking community.
Yeah. So it's I don't know. It definitely, I think, and is that more, that's like governor level, right? When we talk about stuff like that, it's going into like, that's who we'd want to address things with, like Inslee, right? Or like, where do those changes?
The infrastructure starts in places like the Strophy Foundation.
Okay.
Like Megan inviting me to the board was a big change-making move.
Absolutely.
To show that there's more forward-thinking, younger-minded people that are, up to date with how culture is now.
Yeah.
So when you have these foundations that are voting and making decisions about family court and safe baby court, DUI court, and drug court, the more innovative thinkers that can come together, like that board is full of energetic and positive people. Like I met them and I was like, I didn't feel like anybody was in there fronting, faking, or you know what I'm saying? I didn't feel unwelcomed by anybody. Nobody's energy was like, why is he here? You know what I mean?
Right.
I felt welcomed and I felt appreciated and I felt heard that moving forward, if I say something on the board, they're going to listen. It's going to be, it's going to be thrown on the wall and we're going to see what sticks.
We're going to talk about it.
Okay.
And one of my favorite posts on my Facebook was when somebody was like, hey, I feel like I could trust the system a little bit now.
Come on.
Just from that one move they made to include me in something that important.
Yeah.
And I'm not a drug court graduate, but I've been through the system. The first time I had cuffs placed on me in Washington State, I was 12 years old. And the system never let me go. You know what I'm saying? And so by not being bitter and having grown into the person that I am and with the resolve that I have and the plans that I still have and goals for the future, and linking with people like you and doing this for the community.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We're off to a good start.
Come on.
They have all these equity and inclusion things now, right? BIPOC, they call it, is really what the new thing is. But yet, when I still experience, when I go to certain meetings or I see certain boards or I see things, it's not
It's not inclusive.
the inclusion is not there.
It's going to take
to word it really,
a
but it's
very long time.
majority middle-aged white men and women, and it's like then they have the one person of that's starting to come and make
With
the
lived
change.
experience.
Yes.
Hey, I hate it when they introduce me and they're like, "Yo, we got someone with
Right.
experience behind you."
We need more.
Are you new to the world? You've never experienced it?
Anything?
I spend time educating people, and I'll be in a staff full of 32 school resource officers, and we're talking about lived experience, and they think I'm the guy with lived experience. And I have to say, there was somebody at some point in your life that said, "You're fucking up, G. Let's do this other thing." Right?
Yeah.
Each and every one of you guys, whether you were peeing on an electric fence, whether you were cussing out your mom when you were 16, "I hate your mom," there was somebody that was like, "Ugh, I got you, let's do something different."
Right.
And everyone can agree with that, like, yeah, I was a little turned up. Even if I'm a police officer or soldier, whatever, I don't have lived experience like you do.
Yeah.
And it took someone like me and you to connect with that next generation, So we all have that lived experience.
Everybody has lived experience.
I think the standard too for the jobs, how they hire with the background checks and stuff, I mean, it has gotten a little looser, but I still think that it is ridiculous for the whole felony thing is just ridiculous. Come on, like it really is. And it's like, how do they expect people to come out and
Get out of poverty.
just come out and
all the things.
right, like just rise above and get over and not fall back into, how do they expect that when they don't give the opportunity, the equal opportunity, right? And I could see if there was certain charges, right, and I don't need to say them, if there were certain charges against people basically or things like that, I could see how those would bar even living. So you go to rent an apartment, right, or a duplex in a community, or even private renters now, they don't want any criminal background, and it's like, come on, like this,
Well, so hold on. Can I say some controversial shit on your thing? Let's talk about lived experience. Okay, let's talk about the person who was a resource to us that made sense, right? And let's talk about the people that we know who are in the system who have those experiences that you were just talking about, whether it's sex offenses, right? Crimes against people. Let's talk about what triggers those, right? Especially when a lot of those instances happen at 12, 13, 14, 15 years old. And then what happens when that 15-year-old gets some education? They're like, damn, that's what I was doing, right? And now they have to register forever, right? Now there's no one in the system that they can look up to because I don't share that experience, right? But I want you to win. So what would happen if I had somebody with your same experience right here on my peer team, right? And they've gone through education, they've gone through certifications.
right, and this is where I was going with that, I was going to state, when for working for the state and what you do, are they doing background checks? And if so, how are they expecting to give the lived experience?
Yeah, that's perfect. And I would say there's a balance right now. A lot of agencies will come into their thing like, man, we hire peers, we hire people with lived experience. And I'm like, what's that background check look like?
Right.
Can I work for you? Can I work with you?
No.
And then it's,
and I'm a living proof to that.
Yeah.
If the place where I work didn't give me an opportunity, there was other interviews I did that at the interview there was like googly eyes, like, oh, we really, really want you. Wait, but you got sentenced in not the right window of time where we could hire you because our HR, so you put lived experience in your definition of prerequisites to have this job, but my lived experience is too recent. That's the guy you want.
That's the guy you want.
That's the one with the most fire for the change that he's trying to
Absolutely.
make.
He's closest to
That's the one, if you keep shutting down with the type of following and influence that person might have, He's taking how many with him when you turn him down and he goes back to the streets?
Come on.
How many now have you closed the door on by closing the door on that one? And adversely, how many have now come to the realization that they're willing to walk through that door because somebody let me in?
Right. It's deep.
If you can see it.
You know how many I bring with me now to the peer field and to the I want to be in recovery and I can trust the system and I'm willing to come to that office and meet with you and hear what you have to say. But what I have to say is trained to me. I'm saying the same thing that my training is saying. I'm not saying nothing different than the things that you needed to hear but refused to even give a chance because it wasn't me that was telling you. You know what I'm saying? And so if they open the door for more people like me, there'd be a more, like you say, better mentors make better mentors.
But if I'm hearing this right, I feel like certain crimes come with certain stipulations. Maybe certain crimes can't be around certain people and things. If I'm hearing what you two are saying, if I'm receiving this right.
And that's what we're talking about, policy and standards of care.
But
what does the system say?
In spite of what they're saying, I don't have those kind of crimes.
Oh, we know that.
So what I'm saying is they were willing to hire me. They said I was a perfect fit. So to be specific, my sentencing for the crime I committed years ago was in 21. Because it wasn't 5 years ago, I couldn't have this particular job. But having that same criminal history with that amount of time
Made you qualify.
would have made me qualify.
Right.
Which I think is backwards. Because if you make a person with that type of fire for the field and for change, if you turn him down enough times and make him wait 5 years, what could happen in that 5-year window if everybody where he wants to work and is passionate about working tells him no?
Right.
And then how much has the system changed when you come back after 5 years? The system will be completely different. There'll be different funding. There'll be totally different systems in any of the prisons that you've been to. In 5 years, they will be different.
But how much of an influence could I have had in that 5 years had they said yes from the jump?
And there's just like so much defeat. So like when you're in prison or even in county, right, and they give you these little NA meeting groups or they have little, they have DV class groups or parenting groups, right? And so you go into these and you do, well, I know I do, I assess the trainer, you know, I'm like, well, how is she relatable to me? Is she just here to teach us because she's getting a paycheck? Like, you know, you're going to be more intrigued naturally by someone that, because you're, I'm going to just say in this way, you're in a negative space, you're thinking like there's no up from here. How am I going to get out of this, or how easy is it going to be? And you go into a room and this person's like, hey, I was you 10 years ago and now look at me. I have all of this. I have my own house. I got a job. I got a car. I have money. I am training this just for fun on the side out of passion. Like, those are the things that will actually motivate people in those situations, because there's already so much negativity and there's already so much doubt created, right? And surrounding you that you're thinking like, yeah, I'm never going to be able to live anywhere. I'm never going to be able to get a job. But if you see the people face to face and they're giving you the resources and they're telling you how you can do it and how you can get to where they are or be like them or be, you know, better, it's more, I don't know, fruitful. Like,
absolutely. It's realistic.
Yeah.
I always say if you can see it, you can be it. But if you can be it, someone else can see it. Right?
Yeah, for sure.
Come on.
Hey, one thing we do on Love and Lacey, the podcast show for the 3-6 shows, we like to highlight local businesses, local places where we can go eat, you know, date nights, things like that. I'm going to go ahead and shoot it to Josh. Like,
Joshy?
let's go with the food joint.
Food joint.
Come on, Romeo.
Listen, I love me some asada tacos, G. So wherever that's happening at, and it's likely going to be a taco truck, right? But
Do you have a favorite one?
my favorite one.
Favorite taco truck in Lacey? Or
Yeah, my favorite taco truck.
Thurston
is
County.
right there by Day and Night Grocery. Shout out Day and Night Grocery.
Is it
Oh
orange?
yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Calvin's a foodie. Anytime you hit Calvin with something,
Okay, so they actually have, I just realized the other day, they have like a home center, right? They have a building that all of those orange trucks go out to. It's the
And
same
they
place we got
still
the
pull
ones
up?
by the
Okay.
tire place. Yeah, so they have a little home station center. I don't know. It's actually like right on Pacific.
Mothership.
And
Yeah,
so the trucks, I think, go there and load for the days because I see those trucks.
Right by the
that
post
same-
office.
Yeah, everywhere. I see them everywhere.
No, I'm talking about that. You're talking about that lot where there's
No.
Where there's
all the trailer.
Uh-uh.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
When you're going to the post office,
sir.
you hit that roundabout. Right off in the gravel, there's like 5, 6, 7 trailers I think, over there.
by the train park.
Yes.
By the
Yeah,
train
is that one of the
Yeah,
stations?
But don't get hustle. Yeah.
Bugogi hustles.
Okay, so what was your next
Ooh.
for date night? For date night.
I would say Soul Garden. It's the Korean barbecue place right there by Day and Night Grocery.
Shout out Day and Night. Hey.
It is good, and it's not the one in the parking lot, the Tango Wild thing, right? But the one, it's just kind of by a barbershop or something.
You know what? It's right across from Winco, and it goes
Yeah,
like
SOL, right? Or something?
Yeah. Yep. That's the one.
Yeah, because there's another Korean barbecue that's really slapping.
You just recently moved downtown. You tried anything out down
What
here?
have we got down
You
there?
know what? We've been out of town. We've only been in a month. We've been out of town for a week and a half.
I'm out of town.
And then everyone wasn't, so we haven't really been out just yet. We've been unpacking boxes and stuff.
Okay.
However, I do want to shout out, not quite food, but I want to shout out a very respectful fence company, Brian's Fence and Deck. Respect. I've been meaning to shout this out for a while, and excellent businessman. He does his thing, responsible, on time, just good, solid work. If you need any kind of fencing, Brian's Fence and Deck. Respect.
All right. Since you downtown and my food joint is downtown,
Okay.
we just went on like a lunch date with the kids.
Okay.
Uptown Grill.
Ooh.
Man,
I've been there before.
man, I'll have some pictures. I did take some pictures.
Okay.
There's gonna be some pictures and edits of this for sure. But I got the, I think it was Alaskan cod taco.
Okay. See, now we're talking.
Bro, it wasn't even cut up. They put the whole breaded cod in
Oh,
the,
on the taco?
Codfish
It was-
taco. So he said he was like,
You was
'cause it
biting
on
your
the
head and all,
appetizer-
huh?
It was on an
like-
appetizer menu, which they have appetizers daily from like 2 to 6 or something like that. And so it was like everything on the appetizers was like 8 or 10
it was
bucks.
delicious.
And he told me, he's like, it's just too little, but they're filling. And I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, well,
For an
I wonder if it's gonna be
appetizer?
like chopped
Bro.
up or like.
Yeah, they undersold. He got a good tip.
And Arizona
Yeah.
shrimp
He gave the kids
appetizer with fries, and it was
some race cars to
huge.
play with.
What?
And then I went with these sweet potato fries. Slap 'em.
Oh, yeah.
Bomb.
There's still a place I want to try. It's called
Napalm.
Row. I want to try. You guys heard of Row or the Cove?
No.
So, someone that I know actually, their daughter works at Row, and I've been wanting to try it. I'm not sure
Like
what.
row?
Yes,
Okay.
ROW. It's on down there by the water. I'm not sure what kind of food they have, but I keep hearing it's delicious. And then another one, a kid I went to high school with, he actually opened this seafood restaurant. It's called the Cove. And
I know you're talking
Cody,
about.
Cody knows,
Yes,
And they
yes.
keep so many people I keep seeing and hearing go down there, and it just looks so. If you, especially
It's
if you
right
love
down the street
seafood.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, I keep
Check that
seeing
out.
it.
Yeah, Cody's doing his thing. Him and his wife
Yeah.
opened that spot up. You know what I'm saying? I've been meaning to go in there. I saw his sister post something about
Yeah,
it.
and I'm really good friends.
Yeah,
with
yeah,
She's like
yeah.
best friends with mine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are. They are. Yeah.
Speaking of, we give a shout out to our last episode guest, South Sound Mopar.
Mm-hmm.
And from that, Calvin was out doing his solo interviews. We got upcoming guests, Queen Bee and her husband, what was
Anthony.
it? Anthony and Queen Bee.
Funny motherfucker too. Oh,
So
shit.
yeah, y'all can look forward to that episode coming soon.
Mhm.
Big comedy.
And
He's hilarious.
And kind of to revert back to what I was saying, I got the owner of Brian's Fence and Deck, Respect, coming on.
Is he coming on with all of us, or is that something you're gonna do a private interview?
We're gonna kind of play it by ear. The plan was for me and him to kind of, because he's my friend also. We were
Yeah,
gonna kind of
known
do
him
our
for a really long
own
time,
thing.
too.
You know what's
Yeah.
going down.
Yeah.
We were gonna kind of make a different kind of situation, but we'll play by ear depending on his schedule and our schedule.
Like a
Walk through the
commercial.
park. Yeah, there you
This
go.
is right. This is what he does. For our
Maybe you can
community.
catch him on the job.
Yeah.
But it would depend on, you know, the house owners and what they feel about their house being on. You know, there's
You
dynamics
can come
involved.
renovate our fence for free.
Hey, show us what it do.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Show us what it do.
Yes,
Brian.
sir.
Oh, you got the backpack.
Yeah, man. Listen, I brought something special for you guys. Right.
It's coming out.
As you guys know or may not know, I've authored a book. Right.
Say what?
This book is called Keep Effing Going, and it's actually designed for new emerging leaders, youth and young adults. And what made this come to mind was every time I'm in a youth facility, right, and I'm leaving, the staff are like, yo, how can you bring more Josh Smith into the building? Like, what did you do to get where you're at now? And for me, it was like different modalities and different tools and different ways that I keep from losing my shit sometimes.
Yeah.
Right? So I decided if I put all of that into a book and I could leave it behind in this facility, then I know my young brothers and sisters who are sharing the same experience that I had could open this book, and out of the 365
They actually in there
pages,
reading too.
Yeah. We got day 1 through day 365. So here's a quick example, right? So day 1, it says 1 day or day 1, you decide. You have the choice to make in your life. Whether you can either choose to put things off until 1 day, or you can decide that today is day 1 and take actions toward achieving those goals. Right? Now ask yourself, what's holding you back from making today day 1 and taking the first step towards your goals? Is it fear, self-doubt, or something else? What can you do to overcome those obstacles and start moving towards the life you want to create?
Okay, Josh.
Hey,
That's just
do it if you want it. That's
Yeah,
what it is,
that's the
right
way.
there.
So we got pressure points, we've got breathing exercises, we've got all types of things for individuals who might be stuck in a place and are ready to grow out of that place. We purposely didn't put dates on it, so if you graduate, it's a gift. If it's your birthday, it's a gift. If you just sat down for a certain amount of time, it's something you could take with you. If you're in re-entry and you just got released, this is the kind of work that you need. And we made it perfectly sized so people can travel with it.
Right.
And it's a really, really great tool. So what I did is I brought one for your home. Boom. There you guys go.
Appreciate it,
One for you,
man.
good sir.
Stop it.
Please, listen.
Hey, you know what?
Yes.
To kind of give you guys a background, a little bit of backstory. Usually we kind of talk about these things before the episode airs. I had no idea about this. Brother, I must say, respect, bro. This completely caught me off guard.
And congratulations.
No way.
Yes, thank
You know, like being an author and getting something published and out there.
What?
For some of you guys that don't know, it's a fucking journey.
Yeah, it's a journey.
And,
This book has been a journey. We've had like 8 different versions.
Yeah.
My co-author is amazing. He goes in and he's like the tech savvy guy, so he'll dig in and
Yeah.
fix whatever we need. You guys might see on page 82 some kind of edit, and we'll be like, I'll go in and fix that, dog, please. And Jordan goes in and fixes it and makes it available to the people, man. So we had a really great team.
So where can we get this book for my viewers?
For your viewers, look, you can
Is
check
it
out.
Amazon?
You
Is
can
it
find it on Amazon? You
Okay.
can find us pretty much anywhere. And we've got Facebooks, Instagrams, we've got videos. The most important tool though is we created a game board that goes with this book. So say
We
you're
need
not
to
a
get
reader.
this on TikTok. I'm telling you, TikTok's the platform right now.
Hey, TikTok.
For
TikTok.
everything.
Culturally responsive.
And now they have a TikTok shop. They have a TikTok shop. You could put this on a
Whoa.
TikTok shop, and Sienna needs to get on there with them cups.
Look, hey, so what we did is I sent out the game to a few different people, and they put it on their TikToks, and they're blowing up. So some people might not be readers. So with this board game, you would pull a card, boom, and the card would say something like, "Embrace the suck. Life is full of challenges and difficulties, and sometimes the only way through them is to embrace the suck," right? Then it says for points, right? You do the thing that it says for points on the board. It's a beautiful game. But
Yeah.
it's basically the same tools that are in here. Like, how do you get through anger? How do you manage stress? For points and to move around the board. It's super dope. So
Yeah.
Respect
Yeah.
to you,
Come on,
my
man.
brother.
That'd be a
Oh
good game
my
for here.
goodness.
That would be. That would be. That is.
Oh my goodness.
That's a good time to slide out of here. Love and Lacey, the podcast show for the 360.
I am blown away.
Featuring Joshua Smith.
Hey!
Remember, keep going. You can buy your shirts that said "I kept effing going."